Last match of Europe today. It is the one that you've been waiting for sure. In the top left position, spawning as the red Zerg player representing Shopify Rebellion, he is Lambo.
And in the bottom right-hand side, it is the GOAT. It is Serral for Team Ents. Some say easy for Ents. Sometimes, maybe this time, not so much. We will have to wait and see. Lambo, of course, known as the King by many. Lambo King is his Twitch, of course.
Yes, known for dank memes. When you look at the chat and all you see are the Rambo faces, that's how you
Lambo
know.
Rambo,
that's how you know. That's how you know this guy's playing the game, okay? Because his memers come out and they shout loud and proud and they're ready to go. The ZVZ is tough, and it's always an interesting kind of question when we have a big player like this against Serral, because as I was saying earlier, the success breeds that sort of people love to see a hero fall kind of thing, you know. So as soon as you're talking about Serral, all the comments come out. Oh, he can't be as good as he was. He's not going to win the world championship again, as if that somehow invalidates everything that he's done since then. Like it doesn't matter because it's not as big. But the reality is, Serral is still one of the best players in the world. Serral is still here to play, and this is still going to be. Even if Serral doesn't end up winning this, I think it's foolish to come in here assuming that it's going to be anything other than one of the hardest matches you're ever going to play.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the field has evened out a little bit with the rise of players like Raynor and like Clem, in particular outside of Korea. And Koreans seem to have been reignited at some point by the likes of Serral and by the foreign rise in itself. So it's, there's definitely a truth to the fact that Serral's not winning everything, but for any one given event, he is, if not the favorite, one of the top 3 favorites to win the whole thing every single time.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, there's the terrifying fear. I mean, we think about the EPT tour, even through the last year, and obviously the year before that, when Serral was really dominating. Anytime that we would get into one of these tournaments, if you saw that you were on the same side of the bracket as Raynor or Serral, you're like, okay, yeah, I guess top 8 is fine. That's okay. I'm willing to accept that there is absolutely no way that I'm going to beat Prime Serral or Prime Raynor at any point, and nobody had that confidence, which really does, if anything, tell you exactly.
Nate, I have to interrupt you because this is super important. But Lambo Zerglings actually arrived and put on more damage than Serral put on his opponent's natural, and he was ahead one drone for about 30 seconds. This is going.
So is it over? Can we call it?
I'm not sure. I think slight leads here for Lambo,
Ooh, we talk about slight leads, but then I see that Zergling count in the production tab for Lambo, and I'm getting a little bit excited, cats. And the lings are coming out for Serral now. So those skirmishes, is this like a smell blood in the water situation with the hatch damage?
I mean, look at Serral. He's already tucked one ling in between that mineral patch and the gas so that he can morph those banelings and not have any surface area to worry about. But now Lambo coming in with the brunt of his force. Those banelings will morph. Very strategical location there from Serral. And he has anticipated that this is a possibility. Lambo has to try to capitalize before those banelings are morphed. But they're already here, so he has to retreat. And it's going to be a little bit of a dance as Lambo will finish his own baneling nest and maybe look to continue the aggression from there.
And he still has a decent amount of Zerglings to work with, but has not been able to create that opportunity nor deal with the banelings that Serral morphed originally to stop this attack. Tried to get up a little bit to try and snipe one, but Serral, I mean, these are the kinds of things that if you're a professional Zerg player, you don't even get out of diamond or platinum without figuring out how you're going to deal with the with the banelings versus the lings. So we're looking at the highest possible level of these very dangerous interactions where one misstep can cost you everything. So need to be very careful protecting those banes. Lambo's got a few of his own. He's bringing up that ramp now.
Yes, indeed. He made a couple of banelings. This is so very cool because all of this in CVC, right? A lot of the time you think, okay, Lambo started with such a big punch, so like so much aggression, but Serral has to match the numbers. That's the beauty of CVC. And I think in times past, you might have seen or heard of someone like Lambo criticize a player doing exactly what he did in this game. Because a lot of the Europeans tended to have this attitude towards, say, Korean CVC, where it's like, oh, it's random. They're going to make a random flood of links at a random time. But in CVC, because because the links cross the map so fast, if you don't have similar numbers to counter them, then you just die. So it's kind of a dance where no one really gets ahead. In spite of Lambo really going in there a little bit faster, it's gonna net Serral an advantage as far as like the +1 attack in terms of timing, but otherwise he's been a little bit behind in drones ever since as well. So slight advantages on either side, but the game is very much open.
Yeah, intense matchup, and you can really tell the speed that these players are going at as well, with the constant leading, see just a couple being sent here and there. It's a constant battle for information and knowing about what your opponent's going for, if it's going to be that big roach swell, if there's going to be a bunch of Banes behind it, sort of deal. As Serral comes back over towards the third base of Lambo, Banelings are getting a little bit close. Queen softened a few of them up, so actually does get a nice trade there. Gets 2 of Serral's Banelings for 1 of his own, so not the worst thing that could have happened.
Yeah, both players very much in sync at every other step of the way. Lambo with the Overlord drop potential here for his roaches as well, so this is a very interesting tactic. Where is that drop alert, if we can find it somewhere? Okay, there it is at the natural base. Both players also going for the Overlord speed, but Lambo has tabs on the Overlord on his side of the map. So we'll see if Serral also, and Serral is also morphing a drop alert. So these players are very much mirrored as far as their strategies are concerned, but they're going to look for little edges here and there. And look at that, both players actually morphing the Overlords on their side of the map because of how well accounted the Overlords are on the other side.
It's almost like we're watching 2 of the best Zergs in Europe. How crazy is this? The Overlords are going to drive right past each other with their cargo. Of course, you kind of expect to run into other Overlords, so whether they directly look at it or not, I guess, is a different question on its own. These links for Serral out towards that third, but there's roaches, up fourth, excuse me. But there's roaches there, so nothing doing just yet. And, I love to see this. Tunneling Claws starts up for Serral, so we're going to get some burrow roach shenanigans.
This is vintage Serral right there. I mean, that is what got the... This is the man that got that strategy nerfed, essentially, the Burrow Roaches with Tunneling Claws. They were too difficult to get rid of. Blizzard actually had to nerf them so that someone could attempt at defeating Serral. And look at this, Serral has made his way over to the side of the map of Lambo and will drop 4 roaches here. 3 roaches is enough to one-shot drones. They actually prefer to go over and into kill the Queen, so that's gonna net him a few less workers killed, as he also pokes into the third and kills a total of 8 workers. Brilliant job by Serral.
Yeah, nice work there. Still has them alive, brings the Overlord back over, and he's going to try to keep that one available to go for another shot. Meanwhile, for Lambo, that drop has Banelings in it, so you don't quite have that potential sustained DPS or damage output. You just go for the big boom, take out the worker line if you can. It feels a little bit differently, and honestly, I get a little scared too, because it's not just 4 roaches and an Overlord. He's gonna snipe it now. That's a very good thing to pick off, but I was about to say, if he had waited a little bit longer, he might be able to drop those roaches and then they burrow, right? And then split up between those spaces, and it's suddenly a whole lot more difficult to get rid of that harass force.
That would have been pretty nifty. I love the Banelings because the Banelings are really going to lose out on value as the game scales. So on the side of Lambo, this tends to do so much. But look at Serral. He already has a Spore in position to avoid for any big damage. And at the same time, Lambo choosing to go, okay, avoiding most of the battles there, as there's engagements pretty much everywhere. I don't know that Lambo will find an opening for those Banelings, but he's pushing on strong and onto the front of Serral. A lot of the Ravagers are exposed, which nets Lambo an advantage with that firepower in the backlines. Lambo seems to be doing okay, but Serral Roach's numbers are pretty big as well, and he seems to be pushing on forward. The supplies are much even. At the same time, Serral is dealing a fatal blow to Lambo's economy, and Lambo will choose not to pursue the issue further.
Yeah, what an intense engagement. And it is so tough because Serral is able to defend with everything on the front, but at the same time, he was hitting that 4th base, he was hitting that 3rd. Roaches are now tunneling their way into the main. He still has those roaches alive in several different places inside Lambo's base. So even though Lambo was able to get a good attack and try to trade against the army, he didn't deal the same level of economic damage as his opponent. And I know what you might be thinking, oh, that's not a crazy amount of drones, but 54 to 69, that's a pretty nice worker advantage if you ask me, cats. And of course, when you run your drones away, they're not mining resources. So it's a tough spot because that's going to turn into now both players are maxing out, sure, but look at the bank that Serral has started to develop well in advance. He's going to have so much more money for a remax after a fight. It's hard to imagine him not trying to force the issue in the next few minutes.
Yeah, I love what Lambo is doing, though. He's not remade any of his workers, which might seem like an oversight, but it is the perfect thing to do. He has lost 17 of them, which means that his army will be massive compared to Serral's. His army is actually 24 supply higher than Serral's. So if he can take the engagement on the side of Serral and win it crushingly, he can still very much just push on through because there's a good chance that Serral can trade efficiently, but he can't have his army split for this reason. So let's see what happens here. Lambo needs to take a decisive engagement on Serral's side of the map. He's going to be looking for it right now. The concave favors Serral as that little do that in the middle, or whatever you would want to call it, is on the way of Lambo, but he manages to get a good spread regardless. Serral remaxing with 17 roaches at a time, but this is a crushing engagement for Lambo. He has to continue to go on forward. Like you said, Serral still does have the bank. If Lambo can remove the roach warren, that'll be a huge pickoff, and that's exactly what he's going to go after.
Oh my god, yeah, gets the roach warren, and I think perhaps the other bigger thing we're talking about here, Cats, even if he builds all these roaches, can Serral get them together and actually get a fair fight with the supply advantage he's trying to create from that bank? Look at the drones coming off to fight in the natural. He's realizing this is such a hard force to get rid of. Those roaches are popping out of so many different hatcheries for Serral as he collapses on the army of Lambo. And if he can clean this up, he should be fine. He's done the damage on the other side, and there it is. Serral takes game number 1. And I love everything that you pointed out there, Cats. Even though Serral had that worker advantage, it still turned into a problem for Lambo with the army supply advantage, excuse me. Even though Lambo had the army supply advantage, he still had not a lot of money or income to go beyond it, right? Once that army got killed, even though it was bigger than Serral's, he wasn't going to be able to rebuild it at the same level because Serral had thousands of resources in the bank and he was just gearing up for that next wave. But man, if he had gotten that roach horn a little bit faster, who knows, right? It's such a hard thing to deal with because Serral was in all of his bases while he was trying to make that attack happen.
Yeah, maybe if he could have managed to go up the ramp, there's only going to be 2 sides from which Serral can engage as opposed to like the surround that he gets at the natural. I also think that he would have benefited from trying to bile the ramp just to mitigate any units coming from that ramp. But yeah, I mean, it was a difficult position for sure. All the credit to Serral for all the things that happened there. His drop did a lot more than Lambo's did. That was the first punch that he dealt. And then while Lambo was attacking and he had a good position at Serral's third, Serral was able to deal a fatal blow to his economy with those burrow roaches that revealed themselves in that moment, basically. So the timings worked out for Serral really well because he didn't need to reveal his burrow roaches until there was chaos abound. And that just makes it that much harder to go back and morph an overseer and have the army ready to deal with those little squads. And you could kind of see it because Lambo had more army than Serral, I think, at Serral's third, but he was very hesitant to go in because he was taking so much damage in the back. So you have to manage the chaos before you continue on forward. So yeah, I mean, Serral just doing a lot of things right, but at the same time, Lambo giving himself a chance in that game regardless. And we'll see if he can do better this time around. As we are now loaded into the next map, it's Juggernaut. Juggernaut. I don't know how to say it. No, that's not it. In the bottom left-hand side, it is the king from Shopify Rebellion, Lambo.
And his opponent in the northeast, the blue Zerg player, we have Ence's Serral.
Goat.
The goat.
The goat. Let's see if Lambo can bring it back. That was a really exciting game 1. Let's see if game 2 can live up to the expectations. I mean, game 1, as much as it was exciting, it was kind of a classic, right? It's just so beautiful to see CVC played at the level where, you know, there's just chaos and mayhem everywhere and overlords patrolling everywhere, and how these players are able to keep track of the relevant information, right? And dissect what the relevant overlords to look at are, and so on and so forth. It's a very difficult thing to do. So mad props. Yeah.
Speaking of relevant information, Cats, the Grandmaster Council, known as Twitch Chat, has informed me that Serral actually did have a second Roachhorn that we just didn't see him build a couple minutes before that fight, actually. So he was already prepared for that. So there you go. Obviously, it should come as no surprise that he outsmarted us because we're just not on his level. Look at that little pup. Look at him walking around.
Yeah, that's a German Shepherd. Is that a? Oh, is this a?
Anybody got?
Is this a sign?
Treats?
Is this a sign? That is a German Shepherd, pretty much. Yeah. I think
is this a sign? So the Lambo's just got a 1% stat buff across the board.
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, yeah. He is.
Is there a Finnish? Is there like a type of dog that's really popular in Finland? I don't know.
I'm probably.
Why is that dog even in the game?
I mean,
are we hallucinating all of this?
Not here. No, this is definitely a German Shepherd here that we just witnessed. And I mean, Lambo is my shepherd, basically. Lambo is my shepherd. He is the king of kings. So we'll see if he gets a stat buff. Much needed.
How about this evolution chamber, Cats? Is this something we need to be paying attention to? This is a pretty early Evo chamber.
Oh, hells yeah. That's going to be a +1 melee attack, or maybe Carapace, actually. He has the gas for Carapace. So he's going to go Carapace into link speed, and he's going to be going for a link flood. You love to see it. It's all about denying information from this point on. And look at that, Lambo doing a beautiful job of that with that drone to aid the queen to make sure that no links get past, even if they were to run past the first queen there. The Overlord from Serral is going to be procting here and trying to find some information for free. So Lambo has to be on the lookout for that as well.
Yeah, that's going to be Carapace coming in, and there's the Evo chamber now for Serral. As you were talking about, trying to get the Overlord scout in, but the queens are ready, and those lings, I think, just got pushed off the front as well. So a little bit of an earlier third base for Serral. So I think he's considering the timing of the speed. Is that why he feels comfortable doing it at this point?
I think that's just a normal third. And what Serral is confused about is the lack of a third from Lambo. So that Overlord poke at the main is actually really important because it confirms that there isn't a lair. And there is enough gas, surely, that Lambo would have or could have taken a lair. So this is pretty freaking cool, though, because he has an idle evolution chamber at the front. So, it's unlikely that he has another Evo chamber at the back actually researching stuff, right? So it's actually pretty damn cool. And the Carapace is going to serve as a double-edged sword for a potential follow-up from Lambo here into roaches. So he's likely going to be going for a strange 2-1 timing of sorts, I guess. It's very cool to see.
Yeah, it really does say a lot that we get to see these players push each other to the limit like that, because for a little while it was just Serral and Raynor, right? But more of these guys are busting their asses, climbing up the ranks, and really solidifying themselves as top contenders. And I honestly, that's what's made this whole tournament so interesting. We're still in the group stage. This is a decider match for a group stage that, the loser of this doesn't get eliminated. We're going to possibly see these guys fight again later, which to me just makes it all the more exciting to, we're going to see the first round. There could very easily be a best of 5 between these two gentlemen later down the line.
Yes, indeed. Carapace against no Carapace, but there's significantly more circlings on the side of Serral. So Lambo does not want to take the engagement regardless, and Serral almost has his +1 Carapace finishing. At the same time, Lambo will be first to the +1 attack on the roaches. So if he can get some roaches out, which is what he's working on now, and deflect this attack from Serral, he's actually ahead in workers in spite of him not having gone for that earlier third, because Serral has been so overly cautious here. Lambo is going to go for a counterattack and rely on his wall off, while Serral is going to look for a deny on his third. So very interesting trades here. Remember, Serral now has Carapace as well, so even numbers or slightly greater numbers will favor the Finn here.
It's got to be so intense trying to make the decision whether you take these fights. You have to be able to tell at a glance that you have a lot more links to win these engagements, especially before that Carapace upgrade kicked in that you were talking about. But look at on this mini map, Serral has a lot of his links that were kind of outside the base of Lambo with that third denial. But I think he's trying to set up to try and catch these lings on the way back so that he can just get all of them in one go. And he's going to try. He's got him almost surrounded. Look at the time. The ultimate closing in on this outlet, and all the lings get trapped against the rocks. When have you seen this? He's shepherding them. Oh, you're talking about the dogs, but it turns out Serral might be the sheepdog shepherding Lambo into the kill zone, as all of these lings now are going to come over towards the third. Does he want to fight the roaches? No, he's going to step back, but that's a huge amount of his army to keep alive throughout all of this. Those Zerglings are going to possibly end up being a huge thorn in Lambo's side if this game goes on.
Yeah, and very unfortunately for Lambo right now, he does have that edge in terms of upgrades, but he hasn't been able to exploit it, right? Like defensively, if those links survived, he would be in a pretty good position, but Serral is now caught up in workers. He has an earlier third, and he has all these links as well flying around the map. And by the time Lambo crosses the map, if he chose to cross the map with his roaches, then Serral will have caught up in terms of upgrades. So the next timing is going to be that +2 attack for Lambo. If he's able to do anything with that, then maybe he stands a chance in this game. But otherwise, it's been the Serral show so far.
Yeah, and Serral's got to be feeling good. I wonder if he has that timing in mind, since that evolution chamber was really early, and of course that can turn into the upgrades. But Serral, you know, from that early phase of the game, didn't actually get to see as much as he would have wanted. But he does have all these Zerglings and the roaches. So before that +2 finishes, this could give him that opportunity to use an even number, or, you know, a somewhat even number of roaches versus a somewhat even number of roaches. But then all those lings he kept alive, he gets to keep them for this fight, and he's going for it. Roaches take down a queen immediately. He's cut off a few of them by the natural expansion, and the roaches at the third are starting to clean up. Drones are being moved back over towards the natural for Lambo. He's actually going to fight with them, feeling the pressure. He has to try and take this engagement, but the supply tilting heavily in favor of the Finnish Phenom as he continues to march forward, picking off queens. Roaches rallying, and GG is called.